Hey everybody, what's up? This video is a rematch I had against Mr. Ray. He's a 9% winner over, I think, somewhere around 1400 games, so not a huge sample, but certainly enough to suggest that he's a pretty solid player. Alright, at the start of the match, limp my king 7, standard for me, and flop comes down ace queen 2, he checks, and I would fire into this flop against pretty much all players nearly 100% of the time. He hasn't raised me pre-flop, and I think an ace is most likely out of his range, and sort of I can represent either the ace or the queen. It's a standard pot for me to stab at, and that's good enough to take it. He limps, I've got jack 5, and stab out of position, which I like to do. This guy's a reasonably tight player, and I pick up this pot once again. Those little pots that you pick up really add up, and I'm not taking much risk to pick them up. Limp on 8-5, suited, and he punishes that with a 3.5x raise. No need for me to call that, I'll just look for a better spot. And here we've hit 2 pair. Now I bet out 20, and the reason that I do this is because I've bet the last 2 pots, and I'm hoping that perhaps he'll get a little bit sick of me. He calls me, and 40 on the turn, a few more draws here, and I'm hoping to get some value from him, but unfortunately he folds. So that's another thing to think about, that he's folded to the second barrel there as well. Alright, this is actually a pretty interesting hand in my opinion. I check with my top pair for deceptive value, and he bets 30. This is pretty much what I want. I'm trying to get some action out of a pretty tight player. I just flat it, and now he bets on the turn, and I'm raising him to get my value, also just to find out how strong he is. He calls, and if he did have a draw, he might just have hit the nuts, but you know, I'm still thinking my hand's good, but not so good that I will bet it again. So I'll just check that down, and the advantage of me sort of raising him on the turn is that it stops him from stabbing at these rivers and putting me in uncomfortable situations. So it's really a pot control method that I use to raise on the turn and stop him from betting the river. And he shows me second pair. I think if I had have bet sort of 30 and then 60 on the flop and turn, he might well have folded, and I would have got maybe, I would have dragged in a pot of maybe, maybe 40, 100 maybe, as opposed to 360, so checking the flop really helped me get a much larger pot. He limps, I've got 9-2, and I'm going to bet this once again. I've hit a part of the flop, and raises me straight away. Bottom pair, but I think I'll just move on and look for a better spot. And fold my 3-2. Don't fold much, but decide to fold that. And get rewarded with 4-2. Nice. So once again, betting out, giving him, sort of putting him under pressure. I'm doing the betting, and you know, I'm not letting him be too passive. He's got to call me. The turn I attack with the second barrel because he folded to my other sort of second barrel earlier in the match. He flat calls me, and bink, on the river I pick up a beautiful 2, and I think now with 2 pairs a very good chance I'm ahead. Trying to get some value, and I think the flushes, that the club flushes missed, so if he was on that draw, I'm not getting anything. I don't think he's got a queen. He might have raised a little bit earlier. He didn't raise, so most likely he's got some sort of 10, and therefore I'm not getting huge value out of him with 2 overcards, considering he's reasonably tight. So I just try for 100 and get called down, and he did have a 10. That was my logic for betting 100 into the 160 pot, which is just a little smaller than I might normally bet. Alright, limp my queen 7, and once again I've hit a good hand, checking it for deceptive value. Now I bet on the turn, trying to make it look like it's a steal by betting full pot. And he raises me. Nice. He's been reasonably tight in the matches we've played. I'm not going to be shipping all my chips in. I think if I do shove, he'll fold. I flat call, and the river's pretty horrible. The 3 of diamonds. If he did raise me in a flush draw, he's just got there. He bets 111, and there's a chance he has a queen. There's a chance he has a flush. If he does have a queen, it's going to be a better queen than my queen, so I'm just going to flat call him here. And he got a little bit carried away with his 5. Once again, by checking my strong hand, I took down a much bigger pot. If I bet on the flop, he's probably just folding. So that's one of the techniques you have to use against these reasonably tight players, and that is to check your good hands in order to get a little bit of action from them that you wouldn't get otherwise. Alright, identical sort of flop to the first hand. I fire out, and identical sort of result. 6, 7, and I take a stab, get called, not going anywhere there, and ace on the river. Very, very high chance that we're splitting this. I could bet 80 and try and take the full pot instead of a half pot, but I'm not too greedy there. I don't mind a half pot. And I've got king 6 here, once again betting out. This time he raises me. Perhaps he noticed the pattern that I checked with the jack last time, and he's bullying me around. A 9% player, and that's 9% ROI I'm talking about. I would expect to pick up on that sort of thing. Alright, limp my 4-5, hit a nice draw. He checks, and I'm just going to play this passively because I want to see if I'm going to get there before I commit any chips, and he did raise me the previous hand. He has seen me betting a lot on nothing. Just flat him, and unfortunately no ace on the river, which would have been the perfect card. And now that he checks, I'm going to try and take it away from him. His turn bet of 30 into the 40 pot and then check looks pretty weak to me. So 80 into the 100 pot, and he folds. I win on, I think that's got to be technically the worst possible hand I could have there. 5 high, no hand, and the lowest high card I could possibly have. So far things are going well, but of course they're not going to go well forever. Bet on top pair, take it down. Limp my 9-9, a little passive. Perhaps a raise would have been better. An ace high flop, and I'm betting. He calls me, and I think I'm going to bet again and try and get value from a 7 or a 3. Not too worried about him really having the ace here. So half pot, and he folds, so he folded to the second barrel there. So firing that second barrel's worked reasonably well. Check this one, 10 to 8 with 2 spades. Not really the best board to try and attack. I mean, it's just kind of just a little bit too connected. So I'll let him have one. I've been taking everything off him, stealing everything that moves, and I've got to sort of back down a little bit. You know, it's been kind of a bit ridiculous the way I've been attacking him post-flop. It's been good because it's been working, but yeah, he's had enough. You can see he's getting a little bit aggressive here. Alright, once again I attack this paired board. I didn't pick up on the fact that he'd worked out what I was doing. Now I've got a flush draw, so I fire one more barrel, see if I can get him to fold this to the second barrel, and miss my outs, and I'll just give up on it, and he bets, and he can have that. Alright, I limp and then I call his raise on 10-9 of diamonds. I've got a gut shot, but with no backdoor flush or anything. When he bets half pot, I think I'll let him have it. If I had had a diamond on that flop, I might well have called with my gut shot, my backdoor flush, and possibly 2 overs or 2 live cards if he hasn't hit a king. But I think in that particular flop with the 2 clubs, it's better to pass. Alright, limping, I've got king 2, and I've gone back in my shell here a little bit. What you'll see often is players get a big lead and then they try and finish the match off really, really quickly, and it doesn't work that well. I'm being patient. I know this guy's a pretty decent player. I've played him in a few matches, and I'm not going to win this in sort of 10 hands. I'm going to have to be patient and grind him down and get him to make the mistakes. Here I make a little raise on 10-5 just for something different and get an easy fold. Got a gut shot here and he bets. That's fine. Move on, look for another spot. Limp my 6-3, he raises me 4x. So good timing there, let him have it. His aggression level seems to be a little bit higher lately. I try returning him the favour, and he 3-bets me. Nice play, sir, all yours. I'm not looking for, not going to call that, by the way. 3 clubs, even though he checks, I think I'll just check. It's so easy to get called here. And then the club on the turn is horrible. And 55 in the 60 pot, I can't see me going very far there without a club. Alright, I check. And he stabs again. He might be stabbing quite a lot now. I think it looks like he's stabbing pretty much every time I check. So I take a stab, get called, and I bink on the turn, figure I've got some showdown value, but of course once I've shown weakness, I'm not getting to the showdown, so therefore I probably should have bet. Alright, not a great flop. I check, and you can really see every time I check he's kind of attacking me here. Alright, I hit middle pair, take a little stab, and take the pot down. Here I've got a 5-8. This is one of the really interesting hands in the match, I think. So I check, he bets, and I check raise him. And the reason that I do that is because I know every time that I've been checking, he's been taking a stab at the pot. And it's time for me to put an end to that. So all of those pots that he's picked up where I was checking with nothing and he was stabbing, I'm sure he didn't have all of those, and I was waiting for a spot where I hit something, and I thought, well, I'll check to you, get you to bet, and check raise you. He calls 3 on the turn. Really a horrible, horrible card. If he did have anything, I can't see how I can be winning now. Queen beats me and the bottom pair beats me. That's just awful. I fire out a bet, hoping to take it down now, check raise and bet, and get called. Oh, this hand is just going horribly. And I bet 80 on the river as a blocking bet and get raised to 280. And it looks like I'm really in trouble here, and it's an easy fold, but I'm going to think this over, and something doesn't quite smell right. Let me think about his possible hands. Obviously a 3 or a queen is possible, or a better 8. Only thing I'm beating here is air. How could he have air if he had a flush draw? That's possible. And how likely is it that he's got a missed flush draw and he's now trying to bluff me off? Pretty low, but for some reason I think that's what he's got. And I'll try and right, let me put it this way. I've got to kind of make my reasoning a little bit more obvious than this. I mean, I do think he's got a flush draw that's missed. So why do I think that? The reason is because he's been kind of passive. He bet and then just flat called, and then just flat called my bet on the turn, making me think he's more of a draw than a made hand. So even though I've got a hand which can beat almost nothing but air, I'm calling this. And I turn out to be right. There you go. Maybe I'm just a horrible station or something. I don't know. Limp on my king 7 and get raised. Not sure if that's a spite raise, but I'll pass up this opportunity. 2-3. Lovely. Take another stab. Get raised again. And I'd love to hit another one of those paired boards. I think I'd stab and he would raise me automatically. Alright. Stab here. Get called. And I'm going to fire the second barrel and get the fold. Nope. A lot of my students, I've seen they'll take a stab when they get called. They won't fire the second barrel assuming they're beat. But this guy has shown that he will call the first bet, and you do need to fire the second barrel, so that's why I'm firing it. Alright. He raises me, middle pair, and I don't think I'm going to be far ahead here if I am ahead, so I'll just pass that one up. And not getting too aggressive here. Now the king comes, I could bet, but I think I'm going to check, see if, just sort of, I'm probably not getting much. I can't see how he can sort of call me on much. I might have missed out on a little value there. Maybe if I'd have bet 40, I'd have picked up 40. Never mind. Alright, raise on my ace queen. And nice flop. I bet 240 here. That's a really pretty much an overbet, I guess. It's a little drawy, the flop, and he folds it easily. I think I was a little heavy-handed there. Probably should have bet like 160. And betting, get check raised. Not sure if he's got anything or not, but he does. He knows I'm betting too much, so he's check raising me a bit. My king queen I raise. Absolutely horrible flop. I check it down because I know that this is not a realistic flop for my raise to have hit. And now I'm hoping to get checked, a check on the river, because the ace will complete a straight, but no. He's going to bet, and I'm going to fold my king high. Alright, ace6 suited. And once again I bet at the paired board. This time I take it down. And I raised my ace 10. And I just can't hit a flop any time I raise is what it feels like. I know I did on the ace queen hand, so I'm probably just being a little bit whiny there. And I check it. I hit my turn, sort of 10 on the turn. I think I'm just going to check again, see if I can induce a bet out of him. Can't, and now the ace on the river, so just betting 80 into the 240, trying to get a curiosity call. Can't do it. Alright, and I try betting here. He checks. I should probably fire the second barrel, shouldn't I? But I don't. And then I should probably call on that 8. When I look back at that, that may have been an error, I'm not sure. Probably firing the second barrel would have got me a free river. Alright, I bet here and pick it up. And this is a horrible flop. He's bet strongly into it. He can have it. Alright, ace 3. And horrible flop. Let him have it. Once again, I'd love to have a chance to sort of check a decent hand. Here I've got, he's checked to me. I've got middle pair with a draw, top kicker. He raises me. I could probably shove. I've got a lot of outs, even if he's got the ace. I can pick up a queen, a king, a jack. I just flat. And now he's kind of pricing me in. And this gets ugly. I can't really fold. And now on the river, there's so much in the pot. There's a possibility he's bluffing or he's got a queen. You know, something like queen jack he might play this way. And what an ugly spot I've ended up putting myself in. I call and am beaten by ace 3. He did the same thing to me that I did to him, checking the top pair. And I kind of fell for it hook, line and sinker, even though I knew I was in a bad spot. His bet sizing was really nice too, pricing me in the whole way. So ugly play, I guess, from me, or just good play from him. Alright, and he flats me. I fire the second barrel this time and pick it up. So firing that second barrel against the guy that's going to call your first bet works really well. Here I try a raise on Queen 9, pick up the pot, and I make the sort of over bet there really by raising to 150. Don't really want to get called. Horrible flop for me. I check, he takes it down, and min raise there from him. I'm going to call on King 7 pretty easily, and this is not a great flop for me. Pretty hard to push him off. I'll just give it up. Alright, I raised to 200 my ace jack, and he folds. Probably once again betting a little bit too much there, but you know, I want him to make a mistake. And I bet stronger with my top pair because it's a low top pair and the board is very drawy, so I want to take it down straight away. Alright, folds. I've got 10-5 off suit. And take a stab, pick it up, thank you sir, and 3 diamonds, even though I've got bottom pair. Just going to take one little crack at this, get raised, and I'm history. I'll let that one go. And I made that one mistake on King Queen against his Ace 3 on the Ace Queen 10 board, and all my good work's gone away. Kind of sucks. Betting 100 here, just to get the fold, a low middle pair. And take that one down as well. So he's retreated a little bit. Try the min raise, pick up a free blind. That works nicely. And not much here with 10-4. Once again, every time I check, he stabs. So I will be using that against him. And because the min raise worked the hand before, I try it again. 7-2, the hammer, that's known as. And I play the hammer badly by not raising. That's a joke, of course. Tried the min raise for the third time, and now he 3-bets me. So that didn't work too well. And I try sort of attacking his raise. Attacking his limp. I'm having quite a bit of success with that, but I'm only doing it with good cards, so maybe it's just a timing issue. Not the best board to attack. He doesn't think so either. I should attack it on the turn. Now he's shown weakness. And his 4-4 is good enough. Fold my 2-4 off suit. Blinds are up to 30-60. He limps. I've got the suited connectors. Nice draw. And I bet take it down. I try a min raise. Get 3-bet again. So that sucks. I'll definitely be doing that when I've got a decent hand. Take a stab, get cold, and now I don't want to fire the second barrel really, that's not a great card. And now he takes it down. So this match was going so well, and now I don't even have the chip lead anymore. It's looking like one of those days at this stage. Tough match. You make that silly mistake, and then it really bites you. Alright, Jack 9 suited. He checks, and I check behind. I've got some showdown value here, so let's just see if we can get to a showdown, and we can, and that was good. Alright, top pair. Probably, if the board wasn't so connected, I would have checked, but I really hate the King Jack 9 there. I think I don't want to get too carried away here. If a 10 or a queen or a spade comes, or all sorts of hands, even 8 or, a 7, I could be dead. So I bet on the turn, take it down with the second barrel. Not the hand that I was looking for to go check raising him. And take that one down as well, the little bet. And I bet this because if I check for sure, he's going to bet. And he calls me, fire the second barrel. Uh-oh, this time it hasn't worked. It's worked and worked and worked until it hasn't. So, the second barrel's been very good for me so far in this match, but not that time. Alright, try a raise, probably a spite raise on 9-10 offsuit after losing a pot. Get called and bet strongly with my top pair. Bit lucky to hit that. And I check this, he bets. Every time I check, he bets. So I'll definitely be using that later in the match. And he fires off into this one. And I try a raise just in case. I mean, it looks a little bit sort of unrealistic. And he calls me, uh-oh, the 6 is a horrible card. If he did have second pair, I'm now in trouble. And he shoves, so he did have the 6 by the look of it. It's what I thought. That's why I raised him on the flop. I thought he only had second pair for that bet. And now I was right. That's the good news. The bad news is I've just lost a monster potten. So down to 984. Not so good. Alright, and he limped and I attacked it. Here it's an interesting spot. I've got a middle pair, I bet, and take it down. I had a draw as well. Probably would have got my chips in there if he raised me with my chip stack. Attack this one, get called. Bink on the turn. And the second barrel once again is good enough. Second barrel has been my friend. Alright, the min raise, if he 3-bets me here, I'd be happy to get it in, and he doesn't. Nice timing, sir. Middle pair. He raises me big, and I call. And now he bets on the turn. When he makes this weird bet size, it's normally a fairly decent hand. I think I'm in trouble. I have to fold it up, back down to 1,000, back down in my box. Now here we've got the 2 overcards and a flush draw. Bet and take it down. Bet once more. As you can see, I'm stabbing into a lot of pots. He is pretty tight. And A7 I don't think is good enough to call his raise there, so I'll fold it. No need for me to start shoving an A7 against a guy who's been pretty tight. Stab, called, bink, called, horrible, horrible 9 on the river, and now what can I beat? Only a 3. I make a stab at it, and he's got Jack. He never raised his Jack pre-flop. I'm down to 644. And what an easy game poker is. I thought he had something like a 9 or a 3 there, and that I'd sucked out on him on the turn. No, I'm just a big fat goose. Alright, Jack 6, we're down to 604 chips. The blinds are 40-80, so that's what, about, I guess if you include my small blind, I've got about 8 big blinds. Decent opponent. Things are not looking good. So we'll limp as usual. And he lets us, and we've picked up a nice little draw. And king is horrible on the turn. Wish I bet the flop. And we end up splitting a pot that I probably would have won with a bet. He shoves, and ace queen, obviously I'm calling. He's got ace 3, got a little bit impatient there, I think the man did. And queen on the turn locks that up for me. Back in the game, sir. Just a little bit impatient there. I know that's a standard shove. Alright. And he's checked, so I'll stab. Now I've got some more outs. Not firing the second barrel. Missed them all. Good night. And I try the 3x raise again. Pick up a valuable blind. This time I limp because I think it might be his turn to raise. It's not, and the flop is just awful. I wish I'd raised. And I just play passively. Nothing good is going to happen on that flop, I think. And we're at 50, 100 blinds. I've hit a pair here. I check to try and encourage him to bet. He doesn't. And I take it down on the turn. That was one of those cases where I was trying to trap him and get him to have a stab, but he wouldn't do it. And this is turning into a pretty tough match. think I played this guy 3 times and beat him 2-1, and the first match I made an absolutely horrific call to lose the first match when I was I knew it was wrong at the time. Alright, take a stab here, cold, fire a weak second barrel, get raised, and that's really what I deserved. That was bad play. I should have bet the second barrel bigger or just given up. And once he bets that 111, it's often been sort of trying to get me to call, so I will fold. Alright, king 5, he limps, I hit middle pair, I check because I want to entice, and he comes through for me, and I shove on him. So that's the play that I've been waiting for. And he folds that up. I've been waiting to have some sort of opportunity where I can check and he would bet and I could take advantage of it. Alright, he's limping here. I've got a flush draw. There's 200 in the pot, which is a quarter of my stack. I'm going to make the same play as last time. So I check, he bets, and I shove, and I take down the pot. Thank you, sir. And I'll take a stab here. He gives that up. All of a sudden, we're back up to 1100. And bottom pair here. Just flat him. Horrible turn. And that 200 really looks like he's got something half decent, so I'm going to have to give that up. He probably knows I don't have a monster because I didn't shove on him. I never thought of that until right now. Alright. And queen 10. I limp. He checks. And I bet and take it. So I have picked up... I've really stayed in this match quite a lot because he's let me take down pots. And when he has called, of course, I've sometimes picked them up with the second barrel. Here I shove my king jack after he limped, just because I don't think he can call it. Alright, he's limping. I've got 2-3. Not going to shove that. I bet and get shoved on. All yours, sir. 2-6, which I don't play. I do play most of my cards against a passive opponent, as you can see. Alright, I check, and my intention there, I'm not really sure if I was going to shove. I think I was probably thinking about shoving. Check on the turn and call. And he actually did have the ace. So, yuck. I wish I'd bet. I probably would have got a fold out of him. Shove on queen 8. I've only got 5 big blinds. Luckily he folds and limps. So I get to look at the flop with my 2-5. By golly, that's a nice flop. I check, obviously, because I have a good hand. He checks. Now I've hit, sort of, it doesn't really improve me much. I take a stab, and he makes a horrible play with a top pair into my flop straight. But once again, these things happen when you check your strong hands. Good things happen. So up to 1300. I've picked up ace king, and make a little raise. Please shove, please shove. And he folds. And he's limping. I check, and here I check raise him because every time I check he's been stabbing or a very large percentage, and I take a cheeky little pot down there with a check raise up to 1600. That one really helped. Alright, limping with my jack 2, but he won't let me, so I'll fold that, and I won't let him limp either. I'm happy to shove with 8-8 when we're this shallow. 9-10, I'd really like to play 9-10, please. No, you're not allowed to play 9-10. Pity. And then he folds. I try min raise to see if I can get a fold out of him. Pick up a blind. He's being a little bit tight there. He shoves. All yours, sir. And we're getting close to the end here. Limping. And I've got sort of a backdoor flush. Not really a great flop for me, but that's a very nice looking turn, so I do check it, and just on the river try for a little bit of value in case it's got anything like a 6, but no. Alright, he shoves, and I try a min raise, pick it up, and now we get to the last hand of the match. I've flopped middle pair with a flush draw, and I'm going to make the same play that I have several times before. I check, he takes a stab, and I shove. And even if he has a king, I'm 50% here. There's 480 chips in the pot. If I can make him fold a jack or a 6, I'm pretty happy. Well, I probably like him to call, but I mean, you know, I can sort of pick up a lot of chips risk-free that way. And he's called on the jack with a worse kicker, and I'm a long way ahead here. I can catch obviously the 8 or a flush, or maybe something like, you know, 2, 3 or whatever, 2 low cards. Alright, and 6 on the turn takes away some of my outs, sort of nullifies the kicker a bit, but we pick up our spade on the river and end the match. So I hope you've enjoyed that. It was a pretty tough match against a guy that, to me, I mean, he was a tight player, but don't forget, this guy has a 9% ROI over quite a few games, so he's a decent player. Anyway, until the next one, I hope you all run good.